Good evening, members of committee. We are just starting the meeting for November 16th of the Committee of Adjustment on November 16th, 2023. So staff will now start the recording. So welcome everyone, the committee members, applicants, agents, staff, and members of the public. Since this meeting is also being held virtually, I'll remind you that the meeting is being recorded and streamed live via the County of Brant YouTube account. Committee of Adjustment members joining online should use their cameras throughout the meeting so that applicants, agents, and members of the public can identify the voting members, and we can confirm you are present throughout the meeting. Planning staff will be requested to join the meeting during presentations and will be available to answer questions. Applicants, agents, owners, and delegations, of which there are none, are also participating virtually. All persons wishing to speak to the items on the agenda were required to register prior to the meeting. Any comments, questions, or concerns received in written format have been provided to the members of the committee and will form part of the meeting record. Applicants, agents, and members of the public, please ensure your camera is off and your microphone is muted throughout the meeting and your name is correct on the screen display. When called upon to speak, please remember to unmute your microphone and turn on the camera before speaking. There are no delegations from the public tonight that I am aware of. In the event a connection or service interruption occurs that will affect the one member of committee online, we may recess the meeting, but even if we do lose Member Smith, we won't lose quorum at this part. If you are present in council chambers this evening and wish to speak, please come to the podium and speak into the microphone. The procedures of the meeting are as follows. The meeting is held in accordance with the provision of the Planning Act. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss minor variances and consent applications and give anyone in attendance the opportunity to ask questions, provide comments related to an application. Notice of this meeting was provided by mail and sign posted by staff on each applicant's site as required by the Planning Act. A copy of the meeting agenda, including the staff report, related materials, and comments received are available on the County of Brant website. Once the presentations, public hearing, and question period are complete for each item, if the committee deems it appropriate, they will make a decision. And each committee decision is final following the 20-day appeal period. If you are attendants in council chambers here, please note the sign-in sheet at the entrance, and please give your name and address there on that sign-in sheet. If you do not request a copy on the sign-in sheet, you will not be notified of the applicant's committee decision. The names of those individuals who speak on any item tonight will appear within the meeting minutes. Anyone wishing to receive further notice or a copy of the committee's decision, please contact the County of Brant Planning Department. The order of delegation are as follows: planning staff report and recommendation, applicant agent presentation, questions and discussion, public comments, further questions of clarification, and then the decision. I will now take attendance for the meeting, so please indicate you are here by stating present when I call your name. Mary Jane Brown, present. Harry Emmett.
Present.
Bob Hamilton.
Present.
Jane Penag.
Present.
Rebecca Smith.
Present.
Steve Schmidt.
Present.
John Vamos.
Present.
We'll now move to item 3 on the agenda, or item 2. Approval of the agenda. Do any members have any items to be added to the agenda? I believe there are none. May I request a mover and a seconder? Member Emmett? Member Schmidt, can I have your motion, please?
Moved by myself and second by Member Schmidt that the agenda for the County of Brant Committee of Adjustment meeting of November the 16th, 2023 be approved.
Thank you. Members, please indicate if you are in favor of the motion, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Peneg?
Yes.
Vamus?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
And Brown. The motion has carried. The agenda for the evening has been approved. Item 3, are there any members who would like to declare a conflict of interest for any items on the agenda this evening? Member Emmett?
Yes, application B31-23-HH, 719 West Pond Road.
When that application is heard, can I ask that you step aside? Thank you. Any other conflicts? It appears there are none. And item 4, adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting of October 19th, 2023. Do any committee members have any errors or omissions to note? There are none. Can I please have a mover and seconder? Member Peneg, do I have a seconder?
I'd like to make a motion that
Vamus?
minutes of October 19th, 2023 be approved.
Thank you. Members, please indicate if you're in favor of the motion, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Peneg?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
Member Smith?
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton?
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion to adopt the minutes from the meeting of October 19th, 2023 has carried. These minutes are part of the formal record. I will now introduce item 6.1 for application B31 through to 23HH and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and the recommendation.
Good evening. This is a surplus farm dwelling severance application for lands located at 719 Watts Pond Road within the former geographic township of South Dumfries. The subject lands are located northeast of the town of Paris, west of the Grand River, on the north side of Watts Pond Road. The subject lands currently contain an existing single detached dwelling, 3 farm buildings, and 2 silos located on the western portion of the site. The subject lands are designated agriculture within the County of Brant official plan and are currently zoned agriculture within the County of Brant zoning bylaw 6116. The applicant is proposing to sever a surplus farm dwelling severance on a parcel of land which is approximately 1.26 hectares, with the remaining 39 hectares of farmland to be consolidated with the abutting aggregate operation to the east. It is noted that the applicants wish to contain the farm buildings with the house as part of this application. The planning analysis concludes that this application does not meet the intent of the surplus farm dwelling severance policies, as the residence is not surplus to a farming operation, as the receiving lands does not meet the definitions of a farming operation and a farm consolidation, and the lands to be severed with the surplus farm dwelling exceed an area intended to be limited to a minimum size needed to accommodate the use and appropriate sewage and water services. This application was circulated to various agencies for comments and presented to the Agricultural Advisory Committee on October 16th, 2023, where the application was accepted for information. It is noted that a letter from the applicant has been received and provided to committee members. I will allow the applicant to speak to the letter received, although staff are happy to answer any questions in this regard. In conclusion, this application has been assessed based on its own individual merits, practice, and policies in place at the time of deeming the application complete. It is acknowledged that a similar application was presented and approved by the Committee of Adjustment in May 2022 for a property located at 655 Watts Pond Road. As noted in the background section of my report, the difference in planning staff's approach with the current application is a direct result of implementation of the amended policies, which relies more heavily on the need to demonstrate that the definition of farming operation and farm consolidation are met along with the size of the severed lands in order to maintain the intent of a surplus farm dwelling severance. Staff have concluded that the application does not meet the intent of the surplus farm dwelling severance policies because the residence is not surplus to a farming operation, as the receiving lands does not meet the definitions of farming operation and farm consolidation. The lands to be severed with the surplus farm dwelling exceed an area that is limited to a minimum size needed to accommodate the use of and appropriate sewage and water services. The application is not consistent with the provincial policy statement and not in conformity with the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. The application is not in conformity with the general intent of the policies of the official plan and zoning bylaw. It is my professional opinion that the merits of this application represent poor planning and therefore recommend that the consent application B31-23-HH be refused for the reasons outlined within my report. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Haley. I'm going to change the order of presentation at this point. I'll ask the committee members to maybe hold off on their questions until the applicant has their presentation, and I'm assuming that the applicant and their agent do wish to make a presentation at this point. Thank you.
Good evening. Sorry. My name is Ruchika Angrich. I'm a professional planner with the Angrich Group and representing CRH Canada, applicant for this application for 719 Watts Pond Road. Thank you, members of committee, for giving this opportunity to speak. Just very briefly, I'll say we applied for a lot line adjustment application. That was stated on the application form. Staff's interpretation of the application versus what we have submitted is obviously it's different. So the farmland is going to be merged with CRH lands. It's a lot line adjustment. The house is surplus to their needs. It is going to be severed as kept as a retained parcel. I know staff has prepared recommendation on refusal of this application as it doesn't meet some of the policies which are interpreted by staff. I would like to make some notes on those pieces. Staff referred to some zoning amendments that happened, housekeeping amendments that have happened at the county over surplus farm dwelling severances and such. I would like to note those amendments were approved by council in 2020 and 2021. The reference to 655 Watts Pond Road, we were in front of this committee just last year for a similar application for a surplus farm dwelling where the farmland was merged with CRH lands, and that application happened under the same policy regime. So there has been no changes in provincial policies, no changes in county's official plan policies or zoning bylaw policies between the previous application that was in front of this committee in May and December of last year and this application which is in front of you. We did did speak with our lawyer, with our legal team, and provided a legal opinion with respect to our application, which is in front of you. We did request that if committee or staff members need some additional time, we are open for deferring this application for further dialogue and review of that last material which was provided earlier today. However, the committee wishes to deal with that. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. So you're putting forth to the committee that you're proposing that you could a request to defer this application?
To you, Madam Chair, If the committee wishes to review the material that has been submitted earlier today and needs additional time to do that, we are open for a deferral of this application.
Thank you. I'll ask the committee, do you have questions, comments for staff or the agent present? Member Hamilton, please go ahead.
Through the chair to the applicant, I tend to agree. Handing this out and sending it 2 hours before the meeting, when we have a stipulation, it should be a week before, is not acceptable. That we need to have it earlier if you're going to bring this kind of information forward. So it's just a point, and maybe you can comment on why it was last minute.
Sorry,
Good evening. My name is Kevin Mitchell. I'm the Director of Property Planning and Approvals at CRH Canada. The reason it was delayed is we had conversations on another file with counsel from the County of Brant, and our lawyer and your lawyer for the County of Brant had dialogue on regarding this application. Our lawyer's been trying to reach the County Brant's lawyer, and we've had no phone calls or anything returned. So we wanted to get this on the record and offer the opportunity to have further dialogue. If that's a reasonable request, fine. If not, we're okay with the decision being made this evening.
Any further comments, questions? Member Smith, please go ahead.
Through the chair, might be to staff. If we were to defer, I would just want some further information regarding the aggregate pit in terms of, is it licensed? Do they have a rehabilitation plan in place for it to go back to agriculture? I'm just kind of relying on kind of the aggregate use being an interim use. And I would just like some more details on that in the event that we do request a deferral on the application. And I think too, I'm kind of leaning a little bit towards it being more of a farm consolidation if there is existing house on the aggregate pit site. So maybe a little bit more information too around why they want to keep the farm buildings on the retained lot and why it needs to be that size. So maybe just a more of a general comment if we do go for the deferral. I'm just kind of questioning the aggregate use being an interim use and it's still being kind of agricultural. So just maybe a bit more detail on the policies, I suppose. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you respond to that, Haley?
To you, Madam Chair, if you like, maybe we can give some insight on that.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to speak about it?
Through you, Madam Chair, the land that CRH currently owns, that if the proposal goes through, that would be merged, and the lot line adjustment completed, is licensed under the Ag Resources Act. There are two components of that. Part of the property will be a lake afterwards, and that part will remain as a lake. So approval for below water extraction is on a part of the property, but the rest of it would be rehabilitated to agriculture. There is a house on the subject lands that we own already. It's at the very north end, just off of Paris Plains Church Road.
Go ahead, Member Smith.
If I may, through the chair. So if we can get some details on I'd like to actually see that there's a ministry license and that it does say on the rehabilitation plan that it has to go back to agriculture when that extraction is complete. If we can maybe just get some further details on that in the event that we do request a deferral. I just like some proof of that.
If I can add, Madam Chair, for clarification, so CRH lands that where the 719 Watts Pond Road, once it is merged, it still remains agricultural until an official plan amendment, a zoning bylaw amendment, and aggregate resource act applications are submitted and approved by both county and the ministry. So there is a current license that is in place for the lands where these will be merged, CRH lands too, and I believe county does have a copy of those. And if you still require, we can certainly provide a copy of that rehab plan. what's existing on the adjacent lands.
Does that answer your question, Member Smith?
It does, thank you. I just want to keep referencing the provincial policy statement that an aggregate use is an interim use. So just looking for some more verbiage on that. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions, Member Hamilton?
Through the chair to the applicant, my understanding is this is agriculture. Are you farming this land and will be farming it? And if not, then how can you say it's agriculture?
So through you, Madam Chair, the CRH owns around 650 acres in this, at this location, in addition to the proposed parcel of land that we're talking about. All of the CRH lands that are not under extraction are currently leased out to two local farmers. The subject property, if the proposal goes through, it will be leased back to the Hamilton family for a period of time. They're getting up there in years. They've decided that farming may not be the thing they can keep doing because of their age. And so that we have a lease agreement in place with them where they will continue to farm the property for the next number of years. So it will remain in agriculture either with the Hamilton family and or with another local farmer.
Okay, just for clarification, you would lease back the land to the Hamiltons, and they would then would lease it potentially out or farm it themselves?
Farm it themselves is our understanding. That is correct.
They would farm it themselves?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Any further, Member Smith? No? Then I'll ask the committee, are you prepared to make a motion on this, either for approval, refusal, or deferral? And if, could I have a mover, and please clearly state what your motion is for asking for a seconder. Member Penang?
Through the chair, I'd like to make a motion that the application should be deferred so we have more time to study the new lawyer's letters, and there's too much to absorb.
Thank you. Is there a second? Member Schmidt? So I will now call the vote, starting with Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Hamilton?
Yes.
Member Penang?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
Member Smith?
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion to defer has been approved by the committee, so I would assume that it will appear on the next month or 2 months from now agenda. Thank you. And I meant to announce at the beginning of the evening that item 6.2, if there's anyone in the public here for that, has been removed from the agenda. That application has been withdrawn for now. So no one's wishing for item 6.2. I will now introduce the item 6.3 for application B3323DN and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a consent application for the property located at 1318 Colbert Street West. The agent working on behalf of the current owner is with us this evening, and staff are recommending approval of this consent application. The property or the subject lands may look familiar to the committee, as we have presented severance applications further to the south. So this is an additional severance off of this parcel. This parcel, subject to this application, the subject lands are identified in blue. The lands to be severed are identified in red. The total area of the subject lands is approximately 44.6 hectares. The existing conditions include an existing dwelling and farm buildings being retained on the larger farm parcel, and surrounding land uses consisting of commercial, residential, and industrial. The subject lands have frontage along Colburn Street West and Bishopsgate. The proposal is an application to create one new industrial building lot within the employment land use designation. The proposed severed lands and proposed retained lands are proposed to meet the minimum requirements for lot creation, both within the light industrial zone as well as the agricultural zone. The current official plan designation is the lands to be severed within that blue area. That's our employment lands designation, and the balance of the farm parcel is within the agricultural designation. The current zoning on the property for the severed lands is a site-specific light industrial M2-40, and the balance of the parcel is will continue to be zoned agricultural. In terms of public consultation and next steps at this time, time of preparing the report and this presentation, no further concerns were raised as part of the public or technical circulation of the consent application. Detailed design and technical review of the development on this light industrial parcel will be facilitated through site plan control process, where we will look at entrances, landscaping, grading, any mitigation of any noise concerns, drainage, and lighting. The technical comments received as part of the circulation of this application have been incorporated as conditions of consent where appropriate. For the reasons outlined in this report, it's my professional recommendation that the consent application B3223DN, facilitating the creation of this new industrial lot, be approved, subject to the attached conditions. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dan. Are there any comments or questions? Member Hamilton?
Through the chair to staff, just wondering, I think on the computer at home, I read something about an archaeological study, but I didn't see anything in the conditions, and it didn't state exactly what the findings were. I was wondering if you could clarify that, please.
Through you, Madam Chair, I believe, let me just look in my report quickly. Some work has been done. The applicants have been preparing a number of detailed documents related to the future site plan application. So I believe it was a stage 1 and stage 2 have been completed already. So those would be submitted again with the site plan control application, and as long as they the recommendations don't require further works, stage 3, then we would be satisfied with the archaeological assessment.
Okay, for clarification, then what you're saying is they've done part of it, and when they do the site plan, anything additional would be incorporated in the site plan and has nothing to do with this committee.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments or questions to staff? Member Hamilton?
Through the chair to staff again, on the conditions, just wondering on, I think there was a condition in there, I don't know which one it is because I don't have any paper in front of me to specify it, about the fire being $600. I was just wondering, it's no longer just a small house or something like that, $600. It is an industrial site. Is there any difference on the policy from the fire department for more money for a site that's either industrial or larger?
For sites that do not have municipal water, we would take the $600 rural firefighting fee. They'll also be required through the site plan process to install a cistern on the property.
All right, thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Just a comment. In these applications, if you have them in PDF or some way of displaying, there were 10 conditions on this. You can't display the conditions when you do your presentation.
Through Madam Chair, is that more of a recommendation for staff moving forward?
I'm thinking, because I made a note about condition 4, there was 4 subparts. Can you just sort of walk me through it quickly, because I
Sure.
can't.
So
It
we
had
are.
parts A to D, right?
Yes, yeah, so there is a condition included within the recommendation that speaks to acknowledgement and understanding and agreeance with some advisory notes. So these are comments from our engineering division that don't necessarily need to be any physical work or studies or reports completed as part of the consent application, but these are points A, B, C, and D that the applicant should be aware of, that they are expected to complete works through the site plan. So through the next process. So we've included them here as advisory notes to allow for this lot to be created, because they do not have detailed design in place at this time, but that would be facilitated through the next application. So it's more of a heads up.
Okay. Thank you. Any further comments or questions then? Then I would ask, is the applicant or their agent present, and do they wish to add to staff report? You don't? And you're okay with all those conditions? Okay, thank you. So then the committee, do you have any final questions or comments? Member Smith? No? It appears there are none, so I will request of the committee for a motion. Member Hamilton or Panag? You both raised your. Member Panag, then please go ahead.
Through the chair, I'd like to make a motion that application B32-23-DN-1318 Colburn Street West be approved.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Member Hamilton.
With the conditions that were stated. With
Okay,
conditions
with those
attached.
conditions. Okay, and I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett, and please indicate if you're in favor.
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton?
Yes.
Member Panag?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
Member Smith?
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion has carried. The application B32-23DN has been approved. Item 7, the next meeting is now scheduled to be on December 21st, 2023, and again, it will be a hybrid meeting starting at 6 p.m. May I please get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Member Emmett? Seconder? Member Vamus? Please indicate if you're in favor by raising your hand. Member Smith? I now declare the meeting of November
16th